I guess you watched the Piers interview.
I did, yeah.
Too bad I didn't have time to look into, anything about potentially, who your wife cheated with, but don't try to go down that line of questioning with me, all right? Because I'm not doing any political.
I'm not married.
Where you at?
He had another meltdown.
Guys, it keeps happening. Our friend Clavicular literally has the world at his fingertips. He has more money than most of us could ever even conceive. He gets more attention than he can probably deal with in a healthy way. He could likely drop off the face of the earth right now and probably be set for the rest of his life. But for some reason, instead of doing that, he opts to continuously embarrass himself every single week, constantly one-upping himself, making himself look like a loser in a more extravagant way than he did the week prior, which is, definitely a choice. Guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was beginning to get worried. I was starting to get worried that my channel was finally about to become irrelevant because it had been 10 whole days, 240 long hours since Clavicular had done anything stupid. And if I'm anything these days, it is but a simple newsboy for Clavicular's antics. We all have our role. I've accepted mine. Now, we've watched Clavicular grow up on this channel, and when I say that, really, I mean the direct opposite. Somehow the guy has actually managed to get worse with every single month that has passed since he has broken onto the main stage of the internet. And over the last month or so, like the last 6 weeks, it has been really fucking bad. I mean, the guy's been arrested twice. He's probably about to be arrested a third time. He made a fool of himself during an interview. He cried over the fact that a cheeseburger
just slip that in there. Oh yeah, he's probably gonna get arrested a third time.
Had cheese on it. He got frame mogged by the ASU.
This nigga just looks like he's on drugs 24/7. Every time I see him, it's like his eyes are completely soulless. He's completely just kind of like just in perpetual fried mode. I don't know, man. He's getting all this money, all this fame. He's making stupid decisions, but is he even enjoying this shit? Is he even having fun at this point? Why are we doing this just to kind of be in this mindless, soulless state all the time?
Rat leader, for Christ's sake. I mean, damn, dude's having a rough run. And somehow it just got even worse. Recently, I guess because Clavicular's PR team just fucking hates him, he did another interview, this time with 60 Minutes. And the interviewer asks a question about some of the people that Clavicular has been associating himself with, and clearly Clavicular did not like it because he has a genuine meltdown. I made a video a few weeks ago saying that he had a meltdown while he was live, and I stand by that. I think he did, but that was before I knew just how badly this guy could embarrass himself in front of the entire internet.
Paper, yeah, but it's what's the paper worth if you just, you know what I'm saying, in and out of jail, everybody hates you. You're literally the face for the worst shit. It's just I don't know, bro. That's, for me personally, that's not how I want to live my life. That doesn't feel like a good time.
Seriously, this little fit he has over a simple question might be the most embarrassing thing I have ever seen an influencer do, ever. It's so fucking bad that you really do almost feel bad for the guy until you remember that he is truly an awful person. It seems like the internet is beginning to warm up to the guy because of, I don't know, the mere exposure effect maybe. But this guy's done some truly insane shit, and I just think people are forgetting that. But the way this guy reacts to this question, especially when you take into account what the question actually was, I feel like it's a real good reminder of how this guy actually operates. You'll see. Please subscribe. Now, I watched this entire interview from start to finish because I wanted to see if there was anything in particular that led to Clavicular having this reaction, and really, it doesn't seem like there is anything. I'd recommend you go watch it if you have the time. We're not going to be going through it today because it's nearly an hour long, but it's a pretty decent interview. It's relatively cordial for the most part, which is why this is kind of confusing, and there's at least some meaningful discussion. I mean, granted, Clavicular doesn't really seem comfortable talking about certain topics, and a lot of the questions that the interviewer asks, he seems to kind of just ignore or maybe not fully understand. But other than that,
he really is the modern day American Psycho, bro. Just the way his eyes kind of just be twitching by themselves and shit. Bro, I don't know, dude. I'm only judging him based off of what we see on the internet, but he looks deranged a lot of times.
Formal interview, which again makes this reaction just that much more confusing because this is right at the end. They've had nearly an hour of relatively normal conversation at this point, and then this happens.
You also maintain, you've been seen with certain people who are from all parts of that world. I mean, just as an example, you've obviously shared company with Andrew Tate, and other, dare I say, rather controversial figures. Why do you spend time with people like that?
Are you trying to? I see you want to make this political.
Okay, so I feel like it's important to note that
Political? It's a simple question, bro. That's a simple question. Now, I will give Clavicular some grace here in the sense of, at least in this particular interview, I didn't see anything so far of him like being disrespectful or rude to the interviewer. And maybe I'm speaking too soon. I guess that might get debunked very quickly. But political, he just asked you, he's like, why? That was a very simple question. Why do you find yourself around these controversial figures? Why does that seem to be a pattern in your career? What's going on with that? Political? How is that political?
You come by the fucking door? Are you fucking serious?
Live streaming on Twitch, link in the description. Where you at, Berto?
much any time that this has been brought up, you know, the fact that he hung out with Andrew Tate, he says something along these lines, like, oh, you're trying to make this political, you're trying to get into politics. And I think it's very telling that he says that.
Is Andrew Tate political? I mean, I know Andrew Tate talks about politics, but it's like, I don't think Andrew Tate is like the face of politics. I think he's the face of toxic masculinity. And is that political? Is that the angle?
Because, like, clearly, if that is your reaction, you understand why it's problematic to hang out with a guy like that. Why not just address it? Especially, like, in the context of this interview, where throughout it, he's talking about how he's not a misogynist, how he's being misrepresented by the media, how he's giving back to his community by giving out this advice. Like, if you're going to claim to be this upstanding good guy, it's a pretty fair question to ask why you're hanging out with a dude who has an open human trafficking case against him, and why there's clips of you giggling with a bunch of dudes in a Mercedes Sprinter van as they throw up the Nazi salute. Like, stop being a child, dude. Take some responsibility for the shit you've done.
Not at all. Not at all. I'm just curious.
No, that's what you want to do. Is
no.
You know you have
not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I'm not.
You want to end
at
it
all doing that.
and talk about.
I'm just curious. No, not at all. I don't care about your politics. I know you're not political. You've said that repeatedly. I'm just, when you get seen with those people, obviously people make assumptions. I'm wondering what the thought process and motivation for you is behind.
Interview. I guess you watched the Piers interview.
I did, yeah.
Too bad I didn't have time to look into, you know, anything about potentially, you know, who your wife cheated with. But don't try to go down that line of questioning with me, all right? Because I'm not doing any political.
I'm not married, Clav, but
political
I was simply only asking.
Yeah, this
because
nigga might
obviously
actually
film
be
with these
high
people.
out of his fucking top. What is he talking about? He loves throwing that word around, gesturing. Political gesturing. It sounds good. That actually sounds hard as fuck. That's probably a new rage bait method. Imagine talking to someone and they're trying to like get a point across. They ask you some shit and you're like, hey man, don't do that political gesturing with me. Hold on. That nigga might be fried out his brain, but he might have cooked with that one. W rage bait. I'm putting that in my pocket. You're mid argument and you hit a motherfucker with what's up with your political gesturing? They gonna look at you like, what the fuck did you just say? Hell no.
So I could teach you about Lux Max and then maybe you could switch that up. But thanks for the time. Appreciate the interview.
Yeah, I mean, holy shit. There's really.
And he walks out. That felt like such a forced walkout. That wasn't a valid walkout. It feels like he's a half-ass crash out. If you walked out because of political gesturing, which we don't even know what that is. I don't know what that is. I don't know what's going on here.
No other way to describe this guy but by calling him a loser. I mean, this is unbelievably fucking lame. You agree to an interview and a guy asks you a very fair question, you get your feelings hurt about it, and you immediately assume that his make-believe wife must have cheated on him. Like, holy shit, that's pathetic. And I mean, it's just very telling, and I don't really understand how this guy's audience continues to buy into this whole character the more this guy does shit like this, because his whole persona, like his whole brand right now, is built off this idea that he like thinks he's the best looking guy in the world, that he has all this confidence, and clearly this guy is insanely insecure. And I mean, like, yeah, obviously anybody who doesn't buy into this shit could see that. You don't go to the lengths that this guy has gone through to change your looks unless you just hate yourself. I mean, truly, that's the only explanation. But when you start consistently having these like little fits while you're live, having these meltdowns, like eventually people are gonna catch on. Like, it'd be one thing if he said, I didn't want to talk about that, you knew that, let's move on. And then if he walked out of the interview after the interviewer kept going, like, okay, whatever. Again, I think it's kind of lame to dodge this question, but if you say you don't want to answer a question and they keep going, whatever. For your immediate response to be to just try to attack this guy in a way that doesn't even really make sense, to just make something up about him, is crazy. I mean, that is seriously childlike behavior. And it would be childlike behavior.
Yeah, so I definitely spoke too soon. Bro just walked out on the interview and disrespected the interviewer for literally no reason. He asked a very normal question, honestly. A question that I think anybody interviewing Clavicular would ask. And they said he's political gesturing.
If this guy did have a wife that did cheat on him. But to just make something up is pathetic, like really it is. And I just don't know how much longer he's really gonna be able to keep this up. Truthfully, I don't know why his team keeps scheduling him these interviews. I've said this before, and it seems like with every interview he does, it just gets more and more apparent. Nobody really cares about like the actual looks-maxing aspect of like his persona, his content. They just care about the harm it's doing, and like rightfully so. Anybody who's gonna go out of their way to interview this guy is going to want to ask these sorts of questions. He's clearly either just not equipped to answer them or he just doesn't want to. So I mean, like, really, why does he keep doing them? I think this is the second.
He's just trying to get the clip at this point. At this point, he's just trying to get the clip. Because I felt like bro was so respectful the whole time. The interviewer was overly like poised and asking pretty decent questions. Clavicular just tried to force the clip at the end. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to do my big walkout moment right here.
Weirdo.
It's like, it didn't even feel authentic. I feel like anybody walking out of an interview, that's some lame shit. But to literally just walk out on this part, on the question that he asked, like, bro, that wasn't even, he didn't even get under your skin. You're faking it. You don't even look upset. I don't even feel like you're upset. It feels like you just did that because, oh shit, I need a viral moment. That's probably why he's doing these interviews at this point.
To interview he's walked out of in the last like 4 weeks, and honestly it doesn't seem like any interview has ever gone super well for him. I guess I just don't fully understand the angle, because obviously part of it is that every one of these interviews at least one clip goes viral from him, but it's never really been a clip that paints Clavicular in a good light. In fact, it's usually a pretty bad look for him, and it's not just a bad look in general to like people who aren't into his content. It's a bad look for the persona he's trying to sell. Like, is he gaining something from these interviews going viral? Sure, absolutely. But he's also losing quite a bit, and I think when you're dealing with something like this, you know, when it's not a Piers Morgan or another YouTube channel, it's 60 minutes. You know, a 60 minutes interview is probably not going viral with the crowd that Clavicular's trying to reach, but this clip did. You know, it just seems like a net negative, and I don't really understand why he keeps putting himself in these positions. It doesn't really seem to be working anymore. Well, guys, what are your thoughts?
Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section, man. Another unemployed news for that boy Clavicular. Hey, it is what it is, man. Love y'all, appreciate y'all. Where you at, family? Join the Twitch stream so you never miss a live stream reaction. My name's Berto. Where you at, Berto? I'll see you on the next one.
Where you at, Berto?
I made this shit look too easy.